Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. My law firm is doing it. CNN is doing it. Indiana University and my son's schools are doing it. The largest hospital system in Houston, the Foo Fighters, even Dead and Company. So why not the nation's largest employer, the federal government? Why, amidst this vaccine hesitancy, is President Biden not ordering all 9 million federal employees, including the military, to get vaccinated? We're in the midst of a third wave of COVID-19. The Delta variant is deadly. Deadly for those who refuse to be vaccinated. There are few left who can be persuaded with science and logic. Not even the fact that virtually everyone hospitalized across America for COVID-related illnesses has one other thing in common. They're unvaccinated. Said differently, virtually no one who's been fully vaccinated for COVID is in the hospital with a COVID-related illness. So why are we succumbing to the intransigence of the unwilling and instead seeking to punish the responsible, those who've done their part by getting vaccinated? Two more real-world examples of the unrepentant unvaccinated were in the news this week. Here in Philadelphia, the Inquirer reports that as many as half the players on the Phillies remain unvaccinated. Meanwhile, rock legend Eric Clapton threatened he may not perform at venues requiring proof of vaccination. In a statement posted on an anti-vaxxer's social media account, Clapton wrote this: "I wish to say that I will not perform on any stage where there is a discriminated audience present. Unless there is a provision made for all people to attend, I reserve the right to cancel the show." I agree with my friend and colleague, the lawyer and law professor Shannon Spector, who wrote a piece for Smerconish.com this week titled, "It's Time to Change the Delta on the Delta." And in it, he wrote this: "The day for effective public service announcements by basketball coaches and 18-year-old pop stars is over. It's obvious that they hold no sway over those who passed on vaccination in the many months it's been generally available. Let's not waste any more money or energy on that." He goes on to argue that if the administration made it mandatory for the 9.4 million federal employees, it would spur more governors and mayors to do the same for their 7.1 million workers, which in turn would normalize it and embolden more private employers to do likewise. As the New York Times reported back on July 1, President Biden could legally require members of the military to get vaccinated, but so far he has declined to exercise that power, even as the highly contagious Delta variant has become an increasing threat to unvaccinated Americans. The military has worked hard to combat vaccine misinformation in its ranks since the shots first became available. More than 80% of the active duty service members are under 35. That's a group that often views itself as impervious to coronavirus infections. Many worry that the vaccines are unsafe, were developed too quickly, or will affect fertility. Well, the Times reported the percentage of the different branches that had gotten at least one shot as follows: Navy, 77%, Army, 70%, Air Force, 61%, Marine Corps, just 58%. That's all better than the national average, but not what it should be. Although the FDA approval was cited by military leaders as to why they couldn't require coronavirus vaccinations, as they do for other inoculations, the Times reported this: under federal statute, the option to refuse may be waived only by the president if it is determined that refusing is not in the interests of national security. Well, we're certainly at that point now, right? And in May, the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission itself said that an employer can lawfully require employees to obtain a vaccination as a condition of returning to the workplace, so long as the employer reasonably accommodate employees who are unable or unwilling to get vaccinated because of disability or sincerely held religious belief. So President Biden has the power. Why isn't he using it? Instead, CNN reported this week that as the Delta variant spreads, the White House and CDC are considering revising mask recommendations for vaccinated Americans. That's backwards. We aren't mandating that the unvaccinated get the jab. Instead, the idea is to mandate more masks, including for those who are vaccinated. By that logic, we don't know who's vaccinated, so we should just require a mask of everyone. Instead of imposing further upon the vaccinated, let's instead up the pressure on the unvaccinated. On Thursday, the NFL announced that if there's COVID-19 outbreak among unvaccinated players, a game cannot be rescheduled, and that team will be forced to forfeit, resulting in lost wages and a loss for playoff seeding. Well, the NFL is right. Maybe an MLB policy like that would get more of the Phillies vaccinated. And a similar example should be set by President Biden in requiring all federal employees to get the jab. And the same should apply to governors and mayors. In San Francisco, Mayor London Breed did just that for all 35,000 city employees, and the policy has not been met with any significant resistance. City employees there have until July 29 to report their status, and no later than 10 weeks after the FDA gives final approval to at least one COVID-19 vaccine to get vaccinated. Waiting until final approval, that's not necessary, but at least it's a step in the right direction. On Thursday, Alabama's Republican Governor Kay Ivey addressed the fact that her state had seen nearly 10,000 new cases in the past 2 weeks, and that only 33.9% of its residents are fully vaccinated. That's less than any other state. Asked if she might mandate masks, she said no. The answer is vaccination.
Good morning, Shelby here with McCullough Tree Service, working over in beautiful Winter Park, Florida today.
Folks supposed to have common sense, but it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down.
Well, she's right, and now she should require her state's employees to get the jab. So too in New York City. Front page of the New York Times today. The news that Mayor Bill de Blasio is urging New York businesses to require employee vaccinations. He's an employee.
Well, I have no words.